Our southern weather is unpredictable.
We know you've seen a thing or two.
Like heavy rainstorms,
extreme heat, and flying debris.
Your New South windows are custom built for your home and designed for extreme conditions.
That's why you need New South by your side.
Enjoy comfort,
Safety, and security.
We install peace of mind with our lifetime guarantee. Superior windows, factory direct.
New South proud.
Buy more, save more. Volume discounts on 4 or more windows.
Weather. Highways. How you doing, everybody? I'm Chief Meteorologist Denis Phillips. Heat's still the hot topic of weather conversation, right? Just smashed the previous record for rainfall in Tampa. Still a very nice day. We've got some clouds out there, even a couple of sprinkles as another front rolls through the area. Most of us wake up to sunshine and then very warm temperatures in the afternoon. For temperatures, they're going up and they're staying up. Really nice forecast, especially if you're planning on going to the beach or the pool. Rain chances very slim. It's another beautiful day in store. It's going to bring us a very high chance of storms. Some isolated showers across the area. Mother Nature likes to remind us that it isn't set by a calendar. We're always on it for you, just in case things begin to pop.
Streaming from the ABC Action Weather Center in Studio A, this is Denis Phillips Live.
Sponsored by New South Window Solutions. Made in Florida for Florida homes by Florida workers.
How you doing, everybody? It is a Monday evening, and we're doing a DPL, Denis Phillips Live tonight, because we are tracking Lee. Obviously not an issue for Florida other than some surf and some rip current issues. In fact, the entire eastern coast will have to deal with that. But I know a lot of folks have family or friends up north, and they may be impacted directly or indirectly by this storm. So I figured we'd kind of maybe do you a favor and sort out some of the misinformation that inevitably will be going on out there, because it always does. And figured it, kind of be a straight shooter with what you could expect for folks anywhere from coastal Maine, through areas down around Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, back toward eastern Long Island. And that's something we're going to talk about. But we've been so busy lately. We haven't had time to do a lot of hellos, because after Adalia and with Lee, typically the folks who are loyal followers here, we do our hellos, and because we've had 11 billion folks on here over the last couple of weeks, we haven't had as much time. We definitely have some folks here who have friends and family up north. It looks like Evelyn has family in Connecticut. Dave, how you doing? Nate from Venice. We have Alabama's in the house with Jennifer. Riverview, April. There were a lot of other people earlier, but they have scrolled past, and I can't see them anymore. Cindy, good to see you. I'm Mama's in the house with Jim. Hudson here with Karen. Checking in from Hudson. Kathy also from Hudson. Bangor, Maine is here. So yeah, Chaz will be interested in what we have going on in terms of the forecast. James, how you doing? You know what, buddy, I have been golfing a little bit lately. You do remember that I had no hope whatsoever. You wouldn't even waste your time trying to mess with my swing, because my swing is unfixable. But yet, I have really been driving the ball well. Matter of fact, I'm going to use my driver on a par 3 170, because it's the only thing I can hit straight. True story. I just hit it soft with a half swing. It goes straight. Tin Cup in the movie, all he needed was the 7-iron. Apparently, all I need is the driver, because I've just been hitting it. Anyway, James is a local pro. That's why we're getting into it. Des is in the house with Joe. People are watching from up north like, what the heck is this guy talking about? I came here for weather. We do get to weather. It just sometimes takes a little longer, because, we have a lot of local folks here, and this is a chit-chat. Matter of fact, when I'm talking about a lot of stuff here, which I have a lot to talk about on this, you guys have your own conversations entirely going on. And I love that. I do indeed love that. Lakeland's in the house with Maria, so we definitely have lots of folks here. Punta Gorda with Linda, St. Pete, Christine, St. Augustine, Jane, more Hudsonites with Marie. So let's go ahead and get into it. We've got Boston here too. Brianna's like Squirrel. Yes, that is like, if you remember the movie Up with Squirrel, this is me. If there was ever a Disney character personified, I'm the dog, and I can't remember his name. I should know the name because we've seen that movie a million times, but the squirrel guy. Vicky, how goes it to you? Prudy, how are you? Say hello to your lovely daughter for us. Tampa's in the house as well with family in Long Island. Tallahassee with Dawn. Fort Myers here. All right, so Cindy's hoping about a little miss for Rhode Island. I used to live in Rhode Island. Matter of fact, I did the weather, albeit briefly, at WJAR in Providence back in the 90s when Hurricane Bob came. I was literally there for 6 months. I lived in Narragansett. It was really cold. I had baseboard heating. My electric bill was like $2,000. I'm like, I got to get out of here. It's just too cold. So we ended up moving to Los Angeles because I actually had a job offer in LA, and then I was in LA for a few years. But this is your life, Dennis. This is weather, so let's get into it. We are going to give a quick overview local, and then we're going to jump into the tropics, all right? Still dealing with the drought, obviously, even though we had our hurricane, the drought conditions continue for Manatee and Sarasota County. A moderate drought for southern Pinellas, and not a lot of relief in sight. I mean, we had a few isolated interior showers today. The pattern over the next 3 or 4 days will not budge. West wind, high dew points, high temperatures. Today we hit low to middle 90s. In fact, we hit 97 in Plant City. We're still right now in the upper 80s, but it feels like temperatures around 100 degrees at 7:36 at night. By the way, my voice is starting to fade. Everybody in this newsroom, I swear, half of the people in this newsroom are sick, walking around with masks. I think HIPAA violations, I'm not allowed to say what they have, but all I know is they're walking around with masks, and everybody's sick. So I'm trying my best to be distanced, but I can already feel it. It's getting me. 97 today in Tampa, or rather in Plant City, 95 in Zephyr Hills, 93 in Tampa, 94 in Brooksville. Tampa right now, 89 and mostly sunny. The dew point in the mid-70s, so that gives you a feels-like temperature of a comfy 99 degrees. About how warm we keep our hot tubs. Yes, Floridians do have hot tubs. Folks are like, why do you have a hot tub in Florida? Because when it gets to be 60 or below, we're freezing. I'm just telling you, when it gets below 60, that's way too cold. And when the water temperature is below 80, we don't get in. So call us what you like. I grew up north. I went to Penn State. I used to walk it for miles in snow across parking lot 80 and about all this horrible cold stuff. So I've been there, which is why I like living in the South now, because it stinks. I mean, I like snow at Christmas time. I miss it at Christmas. I really do. Nothing like a fresh fallen snow when you walk outside and it's quiet because the snow's absorbing all the sound. That is awesome. But that unfortunately only lasts for a little while. And then you got to deal with all the ice and the dirtiness and the nastiness. So I repeat, when it gets cold in Florida, we do have our hot tubs. There's a look at that west to east flow. We had a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings in the east side of the state, northeast today. You can see there's still one going on, actually, just north of Orlando. Those storms are moving off to the east. Futurecast tonight clears us out after midnight. We do it all over again tomorrow. West wind, high dew points, high temperatures. We've had it all summer long. Now, you notice there is a little bit of rain in the northern Gulf tomorrow. It's going to be little vortexes, little pieces of energy, little waves of energy that are going to swing around the base of a trough. Getting a little sciencey for you. And when that happens, that will enhance the rain chances as it comes across, probably the Big Bend area and in through northern Florida over the next few days. Rain chances along our coastline, pretty slim, maybe 10, 20% late morning, and then a little more in the afternoon. But again, coverage obviously really sparse tomorrow and not much better on Wednesday either. But if you do see it within 10 miles of the beach, it'll be late morning. If it's inland, it'll be later on in the afternoon. So I'm now looking at some of your comments. Just got some thunder in Longwood. So hashtag Science Eat Denise. Denise, are you at your lanai? Are you out in your lanai by your pool in Odessa? Something I always wonder when I see you posting on here. Kathleen's from Newport Richey, but has family on Long Island. Eastern Long Island is really the only area that we'll get to that. Temperatures for highs tomorrow, upper 80s to low 90s, middle 90s inland. Heat indices up around 100 degrees yet again. For the next 4 days, no changes. But look what we have next week. Now, I haven't updated on the 7-day yet because I'm not sold, But drier air in terms of lower dew points wrapping around Lee could very easily help bring a front all the way in and through our area next week. You see that? You get mornings in the 60s. No 540 line, Sean, but mornings in the 60s and afternoon highs in the mid to upper 80s. So something to look forward to, a break in the humidity potentially next week. It all depends on a lot of factors, one of which is Hurricane Lee. Nancy's flying home to Rhode Island on Sunday. You might be. You might not be. We'll talk about that shortly. You probably will be. But again, we'll get into that. There's your forecast over the next 4 days. Rain coverage, it looks better than it's going to be. When you look at that, oh, I'm going to get some rain. Hey, honey, I'm not going to have to water the lawn. No, there's not going to be that much rain. I think the models are looking they're being a little bullish. All right, so there it is. Latest report, winds of 115 miles an hour. You can see the eye pretty well defined. A major hurricane moving west-northwest at 7. Where are all the folks when we said this was going to curve north? You don't know what you're talking about? What do you can't predict that far down the road? Well, yeah, we can. It was very clear. It's a strong jet and trough. We're going to dig into the eastern part of the U.S. It was going to lift this storm up and start moving it northward. That is what's happening. You know who you are. Oh, you can't get the weather right tomorrow. What are you talking? Why waste our time talking about it 7 days out? Now, I will admit, sometime that's my get off my lawn voice, or my how come you always talk about the GFS? Do they pay you money to do it? That voice too. Anyway, as it starts to move northward, it will put Bermuda at risk of some tropical storm force winds. We'll touch on that again in just a minute as well. So, let us see. All right, here we go. Here's the updated track from the Hurricane Center. Now, you do see at the end of the period, it starts to curve back a little bit. That is going to happen. And oh, by the way, that was brought up about a week ago. Remember? And now that I have all these videos on TikTok that I save here on Facebook, I can actually go back and show these people. You did not say that. Well, no, yes, I did. And here it is. Well, you faked the video. Anyway, that's a hard eye roll. All right, so there's the forecast. Now, with a forecast like this, let's take it one step at a time, because I often do this, right? We usually say, what do we know now? All right, what is the official track? And then we go to the models, and then we say, well, what if? And I think in a conversation like this, we can have that conversation, because we're not just giving you an actual forecast. Although, truth be told, I do think it is going to go back toward the coast. I do. Which, again, I think we said a week ago. But regardless, we'll go with the NHC track. Now, you've heard me say this a million times. The NHC, in spite of what the models are doing, will normally only take baby steps in changing their forecast track. The tracks are updated every 6 hours. All right? You will not see dramatic changes in their forecast because the models have a tendency to have dramatic changes. And they don't play that game, and nor should they, because while the models are going like this, the Hurricane Center is going like this. So, because they realize more people are dependent on that actual forecast. So they are beginning to bring that track back to the west some. My feeling is they're going to continue to do so. It's 5 or 6 days out. So when you were talking about Rhode Island on Sunday, like, maybe. Here, let's take this full. You don't need to see me. So this takes us by Saturday at 2 p.m., and you kind of see where the margin of error is to the left, which is Rhode Island, through Mass, and even eastern Long Island. Now, and this is important, I'm going to put myself back in here because I'm trying to make a point. Toggle the hands and I make a point. If the track continues to shift west, the cone of uncertainty will continue to shift west as well. So, based on this track, which if you were to pin me down and say, do I think this track is going to be more to the west? I do. But we're going to start, we got time. All right, we're going to start with, based on this track, the impacts on eastern Long Island would be minimal. You know what? I've got a map to show you this. Now, first of all, I'm going to show you a map, and I will not accept any nonsensical comments about the map because we always get them, and I get it, but I'm not going to mention such, Tammy, how you doing? I'm not going to mention such nonsense. So here's a look at the arrival, the earliest reasonable, let's give you most likely. Here is the most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds based on the current track. All right, this is an important map. Oh, Prudy, this weekend? Ay, ay, ay. Okay, so, oh, here we go. The comments are starting. Regardless, I want you to look at this. So, Friday night at 8 p.m. here. Saturday morning at 8 a.m. here. Okay? Look what is included in the possible arrival times of tropical storm force winds. See that? Long Island, pretty much all of coastal New England. Adam is here. How you doing, Adam? All right, so based on the current track, all right, the current track, which I've already told you, I think is going to go more west. The current track brings tropical storm force winds from eastern Long Island through Connecticut, through Rhode Island, through Massachusetts, all the way up the coast. Now, granted, they're on the fringe of those tropical storm force winds, but they are still potentially looking at tropical storm force winds. Okay? So, let's talk about that. When we talk about tropical storm force winds, what are we talking about? Winds of 39 miles an hour or greater. Unless there is a dramatic change, this is an important part of this entire 30-minute conversation. Unless there is a dramatic change in intensity and forecasted intensity, this is going to be like a nor'easter. That's what it's going to be like. It's not going to be cold, but the winds should be comparable to a nor'easter. You guys handle nor'easters all the time. There's some power outages with nor'easters. There's some surge issues along the immediate coastline. There's some flooding, but it's a nor'easter. And I think a lot of you guys probably scoff at nor'easters if you live up north. So, based on this current track, you're looking at a nor'easter, but a tropical nor'easter. Now, let's talk about the intensification questions, all right? Water temperatures are significantly colder when you get up here. Significantly colder in this whole area right there. So, you would expect the storm to start to weaken. Now, if it takes a track more to the west, it will be over colder water less amount of time. So therefore, it could be a little stronger, like maybe a Cat 1 hurricane, or maybe a Cat 1 hurricane. I'm more inclined to go with a strong tropical storm. But regardless, if it takes a track more to the west, which I think is very possible, you're looking at tropical storm force winds from eastern Long Island through the Cape. Because I don't think it's going to have a time to really diminish as much. Now, if it stays more in the middle and goes more up here or up here, it's going to weaken more because it's probably going to slow down, and it's also going to run into significantly colder water. This will not be a Sandy. Thank you for asking that question, Deb. This will not be a Sandy. All right? Now, today's Monday. It's weather. I'm telling you what I know right now and what I'm forecasting later in the week. If there's dramatic changes, we deal with it, but you guys know me. I hate the whole what ifs, the worst case scenarios. Hate it. Because first of all it does is confuse people. Well, I heard somebody say this when that was just a worst case scenario, not really even the forecast. So to me, it's just a waste of time. It's misinformation, and it's borderline criminal to sit there and focus on worst case scenarios and scare the bejesus out of everybody when that is not anywhere near the forecast. Now, is there an occasional one out of however many times where that worst case scenario is going to play out? Yeah, it did with Ian for Fort Myers. But the majority of the time it doesn't. So let's talk about what's a more reasonable expectation. So let's talk about that. Florida, surf. Georgia, surf. South Carolina, surf. North Carolina, surf. Virginia, surf. The Delmarva, surf. Pennsylvania, Jersey, surf, and maybe tropical storm force winds in northern Jersey. All right? That's up to that point, nothing. Some surf. All right? So, now that we've covered that part, let's go ahead and look at some of the models. All right? And we're going to start with your friend and mine, the GFS, hashtag cha-ching, and we'll see where it takes us. Okay? This is a look at the GFS. And I'm just going to go ahead and run this loop. And we'll stop it. So there is 24 hours. There is 48 hours. I'm not going to run the loop, actually. I'm going to stop the loop. I'm going to run it myself. Here is 72 hours. Okay? The storm is this one. We're not worried about that one. There's Friday. All right? Friday, 8 a.m. Look how far offshore. Friday, 8 p.m. Now, Saturday, 8 a.m. Okay? I'm going to actually call up a northeast map because I think that would be more helpful when you look at it in terms of direct impact. And then landfall very close to coastal Maine. By the way, for the folks who are asking, there is something behind it. There it is. And this is the GFS 12 days out. But you would expect to see a turn at some point. And then, unfortunately, the GFS, yeah, well, you see. But let's talk about that. The GFS loves to blow stuff up. Fantasy land, most of the time it's not accurate. However, we are in the peak of the hurricane season. It's extremely active in the Atlantic. And the majority of storms, this is important, the majority of storms, I feel like I'm giving a quiz. Okay, guys, you're going to be a quiz on this. Write this one down. The majority of the storms that form in the tropical Atlantic with this kind of a pattern will eventually curve before impacting the southeastern part of the U.S. I've said this, we said this weeks ago. The majority curve, not all, sometimes they don't, but the majority will. And the next two look like they will as well. But it is going to stay active, and it's going to stay active through October. So just buckle in, because we're going to be dealing with this for a while. Let's go ahead and call it, no, I take that back. Let's look at the euro. We'll compare the euro to the GFS, and you can kind of see the differences. All right? Here is the GFS in 3 days. Here is the euro. Pretty close. GFS, euro. Very close. GFS, euro. Let's go to day 4. The GFS starts to pick up forward speed. There's the GFS, euro. Euro's lagging behind a little bit. It's slower. Let's go to Saturday. GFS, euro. GFS, euro. Still pretty darn close. Still pretty close. GFS is a little farther west, euro. Sunday, GFS has gone inland, Euro pretty close. All right? So you know what? Let's look at the Northeast. Let's look at the Northeast U.S. Don't do the rapid update. Let's do the real one. Let's get rid of these because I've shown you everything you need to see on these. Okay, we're going to call up the GFS Northeast. I'm going to call the Euro Northeast. All right. Michelle and Mass, how you doing? So, Adam got his ESPN back, as did I. It's a glorious thing. All right, tomorrow, we're just going to look here. Let's just look. There's tomorrow morning. All right? It's still loading. Well, it doesn't matter. We'll go to Thursday morning. There's Thursday morning. Okay? Friday morning, there's the GFS. Friday morning. Looks like it's offshore. Unfortunately, I think that's when it starts to get pulled back west. Saturday morning. Is this 18Z? Hold on, stand by. No, it's 12Z. Okay. All right, so let's go back. Tomorrow morning, Thursday morning, Friday morning, Saturday morning. Now, let's look at that Saturday morning, okay? And then we can go to Sunday morning too, by the way. Sunday morning. So Saturday morning, the center still stays offshore, okay? What would you expect with a path like this? By the way, let's look at the Euro in the same time frame. Almost identical. Wait a minute. You know what I'm going to do. I have to do it. I'm sorry. Almost identical. It's from my cousin Vinny. I just have to always do that. So the difference is the Euro is a little stronger. Well, the Euro is actually a lot stronger, but it's still 978 millibars. So let's talk about the dynamics of a hurricane. Okay, we go back to Friday and then Saturday. Saturday GFS, Saturday Euro. Pretty darn close. The Euro goes this way, the GFS goes this way. That is pretty darn close. So you've got a 976 Category 2 hurricane with the Euro. You've got a 975 Category 2 with the GFS. So you know what? They are both very, very similar. So what does this mean if this were to be the case? All right? West side, weaker side. Now, if this were to transition to an extratropical system, the wind field would expand. You would not. Tropical systems, the core of the wind is right around the middle, much, much farther out, much less as you go farther out. Extratropical, nor'easters, the wind field is much larger. All right? So the wind field would expand more. But this is still a tropical storm, well, a hurricane. So it will not have transitioned. So the bulk of the wind is near the center. And this one actually shows it a little bit on the west side. But regardless, with a track like this, tropical storm force winds is all you will get. You will not get hurricane force winds. I'll say it again. You're going to get a nor'easter. All right? It's going to be like a nor'easter. Now, if this track continues more to the west, you would expect more. But right now, let's talk about that tomorrow, if it were to happen. Because at this point, the GFS and the Euro keep the strongest winds offshore, keep most of the surge off. There will be water. There will be some surge blowing around it because it's going to be a pretty big storm. So in areas that are flooding potential from the Cape back to Long Island, that is going to have to be something you're going to have to listen closely to and pay attention to Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, okay? But in terms of wind, the worst of the wind will be offshore. There will be some surge. Even this far offshore, I think there will be some surge and some coastal flooding. But at this point, the system will be weakening, moving into colder water. And I would think tropical storm force winds seem very reasonable. Okay? Now I'm going to continue talking a little bit longer. We're on our streaming app for another 20 seconds. So I'll remind our folks who are watching locally on our streaming app, you can watch us on Facebook. We're going to continue with updates. I'll be back again tomorrow. But at this point in time, the Bay Area, lots of heat, humidity, and some scattered storms. And again, if you want more on Lee, tune into Facebook. I'll be on for a few more minutes. Thanks for watching on our streaming app. Have a good night. Okay, so the streaming app is gone. So let's go back and recap again. All right. The GFS and the euro by this weekend, identical. All right. We're going to go back in time. Euro, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Friday evening, overnight Friday, Saturday morning at 8 a.m. See how it starts to go a little bit more west? A little bit, it's trying to. Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. So the timing, as we said earlier on, the timing is between Friday night and Saturday morning for the earliest arrival of these tropical storm force winds. There's the area from eastern Long Island up the coast through coastal Maine that we'll have to worry about some tropical storm force winds and potentially some surge. Potentially some surge. All right? So there that is. All right, spaghetti models. A lot of agreement there. I do think the models are going to try to trend back a little bit to the west, but regardless, and here's another important point, all right? This is a sizable storm in terms of it will be even a bigger storm, all right? Because as these storms transition, a lot of times they start to expand out, and the wind field also expands out a little bit. So regardless of whether or not the center, the eye, or at that point probably a center, approaches land, there will be impacts. Tropical storm force winds usually extend a couple hundred miles out. So I would say it's safe to say that anywhere from coastal Massachusetts and Maine all the way back toward eastern Long Island, we'll see some tropical storm force wind gusts Friday night and Saturday morning. Okay? Friday night, Saturday morning. Think nor'easter. Say it again. If the track is farther west, has less time to decrease its strength, then we may be talking a Category 1 hurricane upon landfall. That is not the forecast, but I've got to throw that possibility out there because I think it could happen. So mark that one at 8:02:34. That I am saying that even though the track is keeping tropical storm force winds along the coast, if that track were to go more to the west, you could see hurricane force winds even as far west as eastern Long Island. That is a possibility. At this point, what are the odds? 30% maybe? 20 to 30%? It's about my gut. So 70% that it won't. I'm a glass is half full kind of guy. Flying out of Philly on Friday evening. Yeah, you will. Yeah, they'll have gusty winds, but I think you'll be okay. So, again, if you are in coastal areas, that is where most of the impact will be. You live in New Hampshire, you got nothing to worry about. You're not even going to have tropical storm force winds based on the current track. Should be a big. Can I type that in at the bottom here? Based on the current track. I think I can. I don't know how to, but I think I can. Based on the current track. So tomorrow we'll reconvene. We'll see if the models have changed. We'll see if the NHC has changed their track. The intensity, I think, is going to be right on the money. I think you're looking at a 1 borderline 2 weakening as it approaches. But if that track is farther west, it will have less time to decrease its strength and could be a little windier, maybe minimal hurricane force winds. Martha's Vineyard, again, tropical storm force winds unless this track is right, and then you could be looking at hurricane gusts, like a nor'easter, without the snow. Okay? Bar Harbor. Bar Harbor. Could be minimal hurricane force winds, gusts. Tropical storm winds sustained, maybe gusts up to minimal hurricane. Potentially. I will tell you, if this track changes, I'm inclined to think it's going to change more to the west than it will the east for a number of reasons I won't even get into. But that's kind of my gut, that if it does begin to trend a little bit, I'm kind of inclined to think it would go west, but it's still 5 days out. A lot can change in 5 days, especially when we often told you where it is right now. You have the whole steering wheel example. You turn a little steering wheel just this much right now. It's not much in a day, but in 5 days, it's a whole different spot entirely, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Okay, I will tell you. All right, I will answer a few specific spots just because I feel as though it's warranted. I don't know where Oak Island is, Mike. I worked in Providence and lived in Narragansett, but that was 30 years ago, man. I admit my geography in the Northeast is kind of weak. I admit my failure and apologize for it, but that is the fact. By the way, there's going to be more developing after this one for the next 3 or 4 weeks. So there's you look at it, high probability of development. There it is, coming right off Africa, moving west. So we're going to be dealing with this a lot. And I do want to thank everybody who purchased Rule Number 7 stuff, whether it's shirts, all the donations going toward the Hurricane Relief Fund. From today on, we're back to Children's Miracle Network as we approach the holidays. You go on Etsy.com, go on my Facebook page right at the top. We still have a ton of Rule 7 stuff. Proceeds now from this point on, unless there's another big hurricane, and then we'll probably use the money back for hurricane relief. But starting from today on, we're back to Children's Miracle Network. Again, thank you very, very much for the purchases. It's cool stuff. You see my Rule 7 gear. We've got a lot of really, really good stuff, and the proceeds go toward lots of different local charities. So do appreciate what you guys did. There is a look at the time frame again, and this, I'll take this full, because again, this kind of shows you where the risk of tropical storm force winds. If you are not in this shaded area, then you're not expecting tropical storm force winds. Okay, so let me look at your questions. Wildwood, we already got. Yeah, tropical storm force in Wildwood, probably gusts flying to LGA Saturday morning. Maybe you're not. I don't know what the criteria is for the airport, but if this thing goes more west, you're not. Atlantic City, same exact thing. Gusts of 45 to 55, think nor'easter. Nova Scotia. Yeah, Nova Scotia could have hurricane force winds. Okay. Thank you, Judy. Appreciate it. Let me see. I'm still scrolling through for pictures. Any questions? Brunswick, Maine, 30 miles northeast of Portland. 55 to 70 gusts, sustained 55 to 60. Based on the current track and the trend of weakening. Little Egg Harbor, New Jersey, same thing, 45. Still far enough offshore of the Jersey Shore that it should be okay. Again, based on the current track. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Very kind. Anybody else? Jersey City. Anybody in Jersey right now? I'm looking for winds of 45 to 55 gusts. No big deal. My indoor Halloween decorations are done, Judy. I have not started outdoor, and I don't think I'm going to until October 1st. Bermuda's going to probably get hurricane force gusts, sustained of about 60. That's what I'm thinking. Cape Cod, based on the current track, 55 to 65. Long Island, 45 to 50. New Hampshire, no worries. St. Pete if it trends west. Let me tell you. I'm not even going to say it. St. Pete's going to get nothing. Flying to New York Friday morning, Friday morning, you're probably okay. Actually, you'll get in Friday morning. You will get in Friday morning, Steve. Lakeland, No issues. Nobody in Florida issues at all. Newport, Rhode Island, 55 to 60. Gusts, sustained 40 to 50. You'll get out at Hartford on Friday afternoon. Again, based on the current track. If this track goes more west, we'll probably bump up the number maybe 10, 15 miles an hour in some spots. Connecticut shoreline, 50. There will be some surge, a big storm. We all know this after Ileana's a producer. What am I thinking? Dahlia. Ileana's an 11 o'clock producer. She's a hurricane too, let me tell you. We all know that even if the storm isn't all that strong, it can have a broad stretch and create surge in a lot of areas. It is not unprecedented, Mike, for Canada to get hurricanes. Saturday afternoon, Ashley, into Vermont. It's a close call. It might be right. It might, look at the margin of error on this. Okay, look at the margin of error. Because if this track is on the left side, then all those inland areas are going to get wind as well. And a lot of power outages because of all the trees, obviously. If it's more on the right, you'll get nothing. If it's down the middle, you'll be on the fringe. That right now is the track. Yeah, Maudel, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think she'll be flying out of Cape Martha's Vineyard on Saturday. Harvard will be fine. No worries at all flying the Dominican on Wednesday, Raquel. It's not an HOA thing. I just think for me personally, I put up Halloween stuff October 1st. Christmas stuff, I'm going to put up November 1. You guys know me and my obsession with Christmas decorations. I've bought so many more this year too, by the way. So anybody who lives in the Bay Area, come to Indian Trails in the month of December and look at the Christmas lights. The neighborhood goes crazy. I think it's the best in Pinellas County, one of the best in the Bay Area. It's only one way in. It's a little neighborhood, so it's kind of hard. A lot of traffic. I suggest going during the week. And if you go on the weekend, park outside and walk it because it's way better. But yeah, so many people in that neighborhood love Christmas and have for decades and decades. I've only been there 8 or 9 years. This has been going on forever. And I just bought way more this year, more than people are like, I think it's, look at you spending all this money that you're making on Christmas stuff. I'm like, no, I'm just irresponsible. It's just bad. But I love it so much that I just can't help myself. It is an obsession. Okay, let's go back to answering a few more questions. Yes, John, it is a great neighborhood for Christmas lights. It just absolutely is. Yes, Heather, I could only dream to look like Clark Griswold in Christmas Vacation. But I'm trying. I'm not going to lie. I'm trying. Okay, what else do we have? North Carolina surge, no. Surf, yes. Surge, no. GFS, hashtag cha-ching, Gary, you are correct. Oh, wow. Suzanne, how you doing? I remember Kirsten. You're watching from Maine? Yeah, I think you're looking 55 to 60. I'll say this again. Think nor'easter. Think nor'easter. Think solid nor'easter, and I think you're looking at a pretty decent comparison to what this storm is going to be. Flying out of Long Island on Sunday night, yeah, you'll be fine. The neighborhood is Indian Trails in Palm Harbor, and usually it starts around the 1st of December. Gloucester Harbor, Mass, 55 to 60. I think there's going to be some issues with water. I do think there's going to be some surge issues. Yeah, New Jersey, again, 40 to 45, no big deal, unless this track goes more west, which is a possibility. Southern Greenland on the 20th. Long gone. You'll be fine. Yep, they'll be fine on Wednesday, Donna. No worries. Jennifer's been going to Indian trails for 20 years. Yeah, it is. It's just awesome. And what's so cool is we've got so many young new families that are there, lots of kids, and it's kind of keeping the energy and life as you get new families who are excited to decorate and excited and there's nothing like having people come and look at the houses and have that giant smile on their face and saying that they came as a kid and now they bring their kids. It is the greatest. That is my favorite thing to hear. And the overwhelming majority of the neighborhood welcomes the mayhem, and because they know what joy it brings to people. So, not everyone, but most. So, let's see. I think that's about it. Yeah, you'll be fine on Sunday night. All right, so let's reconvene tomorrow. I'm going to go watch a football game. Let's reconvene tomorrow. We'll have more ideas on where it's going, maybe a little bit better idea exactly, and how it'll impact. But I'll say this again, in my opinion right now, think nor'easter, and that's a really good comparison to what the Northeast is probably going to get. Oh, wow, she became a mom. She didn't tell I said congratulations. Prudy, yes, Prudy has been going to our neighborhood for years and brought her lovely daughter every time, and it's always, I love to see people come back year after year. It is just amazing. Boston, based on the current track, 45 to 55. Some water, though. There is going to be some water. There is going to be some water with this storm, even as offshore as it's going to be. There's going to be some surge concerns. And that's something we're going to have to really look closely on. In fact, tomorrow, maybe I'll call up one of the NHC maps for surge issues as we get closer. All right? All right, guys. So we will talk tomorrow, and we'll have even a better idea of specifics for water and wind. Let's go watch some football. Have a good night, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you on tomorrow night's edition of Denis Phillips Live. See you guys.
Our southern weather is unpredictable.
We know you've seen a thing or two.
Like heavy rainstorms.
Extreme heat and flying debris.
Your New South windows are custom built for your home and designed for extreme conditions.
That's why you need New South by your side.
Enjoy comfort,
Safety and security.
We install peace of mind with our lifetime guarantee. Superior windows, factory direct.
New South proud.
Buy more, save more. Volume discounts on 4 or more windows.